Hello. In this video, I'm going to go over some basic JavaScript syntax and convenience features and explain some of what's going on in JavaScript just by giving a bunch of examples. So I've created a folder called Node Playground, and I'm just going to open up that folder. It's completely empty as of now. And I have Node installed. I can do a node-v for version, and I have version 22.8 if you want to compare to the version you have, or use Node Version Manager or something to install this particular version or use this particular version so you're on the same version as me. And I'd suggest that you follow along with this if you haven't seen some of this stuff before, so you can get a feel for using the different techniques I'll show in this video. So first I'm just going to create a basic JavaScript file, and this is going to be running outside the browser, just inside of Node, just so that things can be put out to the console here, and we'll type in a single JavaScript file. So I'll just call this playground.js, and then I can use Control B to close the File Explorer panel, and then I can run this file. I can either run it as a singular node playground.js, and then I'll just run it from top to bottom and then exit. So if I had like console.log hello world, then I could say node playground.js, and it would run, print that, and then exit. But you may have seen people use NodeMon in the past. You can also use just a built-in feature of Node now for keeping a file re-executing after you make changes to it, and that would be node --watch and then the file name. So I'll use that, and then it'll run it, and then if you make a change, or like I saved the file, it'll run this file again. I have autosave on, so it also, after the debounce on this, when the save happens, it'll also re-execute my code, so I may see an error temporarily if I'm still working on things. But that just lets the code run over and over, since scripts simply run from top to bottom. So after they're done completing everything, they will exit. So some basic things about just even this simple example here is that strings can be created in different ways. So you could have, let's just use constant variables which can't be changed for this. So I'll say s1 is hello, const s2 can be hello with single quotes. That's like the quote without hitting the shift key. And then const s3 can be the backtick, which is above the left tab key typically. And so these are all valid ways to create strings. So I'll say hello 1, hello 2, hello 3, and then I can console log those. A little console log trick is that console log can actually, if you hover over it, it can take this ... means it can take arguments from a number of arguments. So this is the spread operator, and it's saying data is an array, and it's spreading that array, meaning that you can have a number of arguments up to 0, 1, up to n, however many you want, and that will essentially be, those will be separated by a comma. So I can just put an indefinite number of arguments to console log, and it will log all of those things, and I think it typically separates them by a space. So if I say s1, comma s2, comma s3, I'll get those things all printed out, separated by a space. And if I wanted to say, I don't know if the new line character will work here, but yes, so if I added a new line character, which is the \n, you may see on Windows, technically there's a carriage return, so a /r/n on Windows, but the Linux file ending, line ender is just this \n character, so you don't actually see that, but it creates a new line as part of this string, so it wraps around to the next line on a multi-line kind of file or multi-line like console output. So the new line is being contained inside this s2 right here, and this is what wraps us around before printing hello 3. So all those strings are doing the same thing. What's the purpose? There are occasional times you'll find in programming, you see when I actually save, my formatter is just using double quotes only for consistency. There will be cases in programming, not necessarily in JavaScript usually, where you might need single quotes for something. Like for example, if you're using the Postgres on the command line, you may find that it only accepts single quote strings. Or if you want to have a string within a string in JavaScript, this might be an example, something like this, where you can use double quotes on the outside, and then you could use single quotes on the inside. Whereas if you wanted to use like double quotes on the inside again, that would mess up everything in here. It would think you're trying to end the string there. So you would need to use the escape character, which is typically that backslash in most programming languages, and that'll say, no, I actually want a quote mark. I don't want to end this string. I want a quote mark inside of my string. And so that'll allow you to have double quotes inside your strings. But single quotes typically should work. If I didn't have the formatter, the single quote might be the one that was disrupted, and so I might need like a backslash like this. And so I haven't hit Control S, so my formatter hasn't run, but you can see now this was the one I had to escape, whereas maybe these ones would be fine because it's clear that the string was being demarcated with these single quotes. So just a little note on escaping special characters. This can happen in all kinds of different situations. Like say you were in a different language where there were dollar signs that were containing some sort of data. You might have to do a backslash dollar sign if you wanted to literally put $1.50 inside of your string or something like that. So it's just an example where in this case you'll see backslash dollar sign just prints a dollar sign. It doesn't actually print the backslash part of it. So you might think, well, what if I want a backslash instead of my string? Well, you can do backslash backslash, and then that will do just a single backslash because the first one is escaping this particular character, and then this is the character that's actually being printed. So that's a convenience features for when you're working with strings and single and double quotes, and when you want those strings to actually contain those things. Now, why would you want to use this S3 version? Well, this is what's gonna create a templated string, which is kind of like if you've ever used in Python the format string or the F string. That would be where you might have like my pi variable, and then whatever that was, assume I'm in Python right here, and you might say equals 42, sure. But let's say you wanted a string, and then what if you wanted to put the number 42 inside of that from a different variable, like 42 is 42, and then you might not have semicolons in Python, but then you wanted to do like an F string, so you would use F and then quotes, and then inside here, I forget the exact syntax, but it's something like these curly braces or something like that, and then you would put the name of your variable, and it would just put 42 inside of there. So the similar thing in JavaScript is also with the curly braces, but before the curly braces you need a dollar sign. So, and then if you wanted to, you could use your same logic from above. You think, well, what if I want to have this exact string inside of here? Well, you could probably do something like backslash dollar sign 3, and then you could actually contain that syntax inside of here because you're not using the dollar sign as its kind of escape character that does this special insertion here. You're using it for, you actually want a string. And then let's say this isn't just an actual JavaScript number. This would be called a number literal, so you're just literally saying what the number is. We could say const 3 is 3, and then pass that variable name in, and so now you see how you could do a lot of nice dynamic things, and this is much more convenient to say this, so you're saying hello 3 or hello 333, and you could change what that value is, because the alternative to this is you would have to do something like const s4 and then use like string concatenation with the plus sign. So you'd have to say like hello space 3 plus exclamation point and have this string concatenation going on here, whereas this is much easier, especially if you want to have more than one of these insertions in here. You can insert the same variable multiple times, or you can insert different variables here, like this could be 4, and you could have const 4 equals 444 or something like that, and it's just a much cleaner way to do insertions of data. And so typically the data that you would put in here would be something that can easily be turned into a string. So that would be something like a number, or just also a string, some string. and you can see that that gets inserted there. So this is just going to make your life a lot easier if you understand the differences between the different quote marks. Mostly you can interchange double for single quotes, but it's good to just kind of pick one and be consistent. So typically, like, maybe the double quote would be a good choice, and like in this case, my formatter will always convert my single quotes into double quotes. When I click save, I have format on save, so that happens. And that's also why when I tab this over, there's nothing invalid about this being tabbed over in JavaScript, but when I hit save, my formatter will automatically move that over. So that's probably Prettier, which is an extension I installed in VS Code, the Prettier code formatter. And then if I do a settings gear settings, and I look for formatter, then my default formatter is actually selected to Prettier, and I also have format on save is a setting I have checked, and so that every time I hit Control S or File Save, then it's going to format my code nicely. So that's a little bit of important knowledge for working with strings in JavaScript, and that should wrap it up for this quick tutorial.